21 of 24, 286 yards, 3 touchdowns. Still a
It's
dude.
better than this. Guys being dudes.
Matt Ryan,
That's a dude.
Heisman Trophy, Bronco Nagurski Award,
Ultimate dudes.
Raji on my left,
Herzlich on my right. 2 dudes. O-line you. Bunch of dudes.
dudes to the right, dudes to the left, stuck in the middle with you.
WZBC, the Boston College Radio Network, the voice of the Eagles.
Hello and welcome
What's
to
going on, guys?
WZBC. Another night here of
It's alive now. Okay, good.
all right, of Two Dudes Sports Show. I'm Quinn Kelly.
And I'm TJ Hartnett. We got a lot planned today for a fantastic show. We're talking about Boston College's upcoming game against the Florida State University, the Seminoles. We're going down to Tallahassee this weekend, so it's going to be a fantastic game. Unbeaten Florida State team and unbeaten Jameis Winston. It's going to be interesting to see how Boston College will fare against them. We're going to talk about our call-in topic tonight, which is about Giancarlo Stanton, the Miami Marlins stud who just signed a $325 million contract for 13 years to stay in Miami.
Unbelievable.
That's LeBron-ish. LeBron-ish. So we're going to talk about that. You can call in and express your opinions on if you like or dislike what's going on in Miami. We'll definitely have opinions going on with that. Then we're going to talk about college football because a lot happened this weekend. A lot of people dropped out, and now there's a surefire race for those final 4 teams. It's going to be interesting to see how that plays out. We're going to talk about the possible outcomes and what we truly think is going to happen going forward. And then finally, obviously, I think we're going to do a more extended version of your NFL rundown this week. We're going to talk about teams
absolutely.
because they're starting to file out what teams are really showing up.
Yep.
AFC versus NFC. Who do you think is the stronger division? I truly have one in mind. I'm sure you do too.
Mm-hmm.
As an NFC fan, maybe I'm gonna reach across the aisle, but we'll see how that goes. But first, let's start with some Boston College football. We're gonna do it a little differently today because we talked about FSU last week too. We're gonna talk about what can happen for Boston College to win. So Boston College can win if, and we're going to fill that in, and then Florida State can win or will win if. So first of all, what's your feelings? What's your opinions on what's going to happen in Tallahassee this weekend?
Okay, obviously, just before we get started, just want to say thoughts and prayers are with the FSU campus
Absolutely.
right now. Can't lose sight of it in the heat of the battle sort of thing.
Yep.
Just a tremendous tragedy that's happened down there.
Yeah.
And just obviously all thoughts and prayers from the Two Dudes family and
Exactly.
the WZBC
Exactly.
family and the
Goes way
BC
beyond.
community.
Yeah, goes
Everybody-
way beyond a football game this
Definitely.
weekend. It's definitely, no matter what happens out on the field, thoughts and prayers with all of Florida State and their entire community, everybody affected by that tragedy because it's just terrible. It's amazing because we're in the same scenario here on a college campus, and it can truly happen anywhere. And it's a sad thing that is a reality, and it's a shame to be a reality. But thoughts and prayers with them, and regardless of our opinions of the team and everything, definitely, like we said, thoughts and prayers down there. So
Absolutely.
anyway, back to the contest of the Saturday showdown.
So obviously 3:30 start time live on ABC. We talked about it on the bus ride over.
Yep.
There's now a lot more motivation for Florida
Yeah.
State than there was present before.
Exactly.
And BC had slim chances of winning before. This makes it, to the nth degree more
Yeah.
difficult. They just didn't really have much to play for. I mean, obviously the undefeated record, but how do you get yourself up for this game?
Mm-hmm.
They now have something to help get them up.
Yeah, it was one of those games that I viewed it as a pot. Like I'm
A trap,
100% behind. I'm biased towards Boston College. We've picked Boston College in every single game. Like we'll be here to admit that. But this was one of those games that obviously we're leaning towards Florida State. But like I said to Quinn on the bus, it was probably 70 to 80%. I was thinking Florida State was going to win, and a nice 30 to 20% comfort range of Boston College's possibilities that if, the stars aligned correctly, we could have beaten a team that's 23-0 with Jameis Winston. So it's obviously a little heightened now, not to make that the forefront of the tragedy, but to make it that Florida State's going out there, they've experienced something, and now they're doing it for the community, they're doing it for the brothers and sisters that were injured, doing it for, the entire FSU community, entire FSU family. They're going to get a win for that family in their home, and those people are going to be that entire tragedy. Luckily, nobody was killed other than the gunman, but I don't know. I think one's in critical condition still, if I'm not mistaken. But they're playing for something that stands for a university, and it should have been one of those games where they're just breezing by Boston College because they're thinking about Florida and the Battle of Florida, and now it's you're going to go out there and you're going to play your heart out for your community, and it's about, I feel like, 90% for Florida State, and it's one of those games that before this this whole thing happened, you were thinking you can bash Florida State all you want for how they conduct, how we talked about it last week, how they conduct their athletics and how they conduct everything regarding Jameis, but if we do come out of this with a loss, it's definitely a lot. It's definitely going to hurt a lot less now that they have something and something like that happens, because that's unexplainable and something that I can't even imagine if it happened here. So, but what can Boston College will win if, what do you think?
All right, so Tyler Murphy has to have the career game of his life.
Yes.
Okay, he had a fantastic game in the USC game. That's what propelled us to the win.
Exactly.
Him, along with the rest of the running unit, I think Hillman needs to have a great game.
Mm-hmm.
Sherm needs to
come back,
do stuff on special teams.
Yep.
I mean, he's a little bit less of a focal point
Yep.
on the offense right now, but
Sure.
special teams is still somewhere he can have an impact. They'd have to do that. That would have to be something that we saw happen in that game.
Mm-hmm.
Even still, if you have the game that you had against USC, it's not going to be enough this time.
Mm-hmm.
You need to exceed that, because Florida State's defense is better than USC's, and obviously they know how to get down and win. USC got down to us and then got down on themselves and just couldn't work themselves out of a hole. Florida State has been doing it all season. They know how to come back if they get behind.
Yeah.
So,
you've seen that time after time. If you watch Louisville, if you want just Notre Dame, Louisville, Miami, even NC State, games that Florida State just trailed and then something happens that just brings them to life.
Right.
Either that's, the leadership through Jameis, throwing passes left and right, getting stuff done, commanding the huddle, or it's their running backs who step up. Sometimes it's their defense, huge pick, huge fumble, huge sack, in big opportunities, their defense steps up. So they're like a three-headed monster coming at you from all ways, and even if they fall down, one of those heads is going to strike, and that's what they've been doing this entire year. Is it luck? A little of it is, but they're completely a skilled team that works as a cohesive unit, that they deserve these wins. They do. Yeah. They each of them, they come out, think what you want about the way that some of them have turned up, but they're still putting themselves in an effort to win the game. Every single time they've been in the position to win the game. And you can say the same with Boston College, excluding Pittsburgh and Louisville.
Right.
But they know how to close out games. They know how to get it done. Miami last week, Miami had the ball on their own 40 with 1:50 to go with no timeouts. And all they needed was, they lost by 4, so all they needed was a touchdown. They needed a touchdown. And they got to their own 40 with I think it was 16 seconds to go. So they went 20 yards in 1:30, which is a fantastic job by the Florida State defense. And they were in position, and Miami drew up this whole play, and FSU had 4 defenders around the ball that was thrown, and picked it off, no problem. And it was just FSU does it again. So the only way BC has to be focusing and rolling on all cylinders to get the victory.
Yeah, there's no other way to describe it. If you're BC, if you are Boston College and collectively have the best game that this unit is capable of having, then you could somehow get a win.
Sure.
But your best against their best isn't going to get it done.
No.
So you need to have some type of fault from them. And so, like we said, the best we've played thus far offensively. Look at the USC game. Yeah. That's not going to get it done.
No.
So in accordance with that, you'd need the best the defense has played this season. You can't allow the type of points that they allowed to USC, because Florida State does have the ability to come all the way back. And so we haven't really seen. I can't think of a game this season that we've seen collectively both units fire on all cylinders. I guess you could say the Maine game, but that's not, it's Maine.
Yeah. So as a whole, I would say USC. It'd be USC because they held USC They held USC to 20 yards. So 20 yards for USC. So to hold that running game for 20 yards is out of this world. That's fantastic. They put pressure on the USC quarterback. I think they had 6 sacks, which was a fantastic job for them. They forced turnovers. They put pressure on the USC quarterback. That was the game where BC, everything was rolling for him. Every single possible thing that was rolling for Boston College was rolling on all cylinders. Yeah. And I think for BC to win, Tyler Murphy has to show that he is the number 1 rushing quarterback in the league, which he is right now. He has to show it. Yeah. If he goes out there and runs all over Florida State, he's showing a leadership position. He's showing that he wants, obviously, to win, that he wants to lead the team. If he plays like Louisville, it's gonna be over before we even get the ball. That's the one problem. And Murphy's played well this year. As much as he gets knocked because he can't throw really. Yeah. He's played well. I think he's the 3rd ranked quarterback in the ACC, if I'm not mistaken. He's done what he's been expected to do. He was never touted as a throwing quarterback. No. It's just not in his arsenal. Yep. He's a college level quarterback. He's not somebody who's going pro. He's a rushing quarterback. Correct. You hesitate to say dual threat because there's really a limited amount to what he can do. But and people, they've dropped balls from him in big opportunities where he's thrown the ball well. He doesn't not know how to throw. Exactly. He's a college quarterback because he has the capacity to put throws on the money. But honestly, I don't think, if you think, the overall realm of what makes a quarterback, he has not made a big throw this entire year. No, not really. The biggest throw he made was against Clemson that got dropped. Yes. Yeah, the back of the end zone dropped by Rouse. Yeah, that's probably it's been there. He makes throws, but they don't seem to catch them. Exactly. Ever. And then when they are catching them, it's dink and dunk. So. Exactly. That's why he's one of those guys where, first play of the game, if we get the ball against Florida State, what are we doing first play? We're going to run it. Yeah. 100%. And that's one of the things that's a weakness against us. They know we're going to run the ball. They know it. So if Boston College wants to win, Tyler Murphy has to take over this game. He has to run. He has to throw well. We can't drop passes. Special teams, that's point number 2. Special teams has to be down to a T. If you want to win the game, you have to hit every single PAT. Do not miss a PAT. Yeah, that's first. Yeah. Second of all, Sherm Alstein's done a good job this year doing it. Cannot drop a punt. He's done it once or twice. He can't drop he doesn't take the kickoffs. It's Willis who does that. But Alston, you cannot drop a punt. Our punts, Howell's done a fantastic job as a punter this year. If he continues to do that, he doesn't have to hit, every single one on the one. But if he's doing decent punts in deep Florida State territory, it's going to help us. Yeah, it makes them work the field. Exactly. You can't. That's the biggest thing. A lot of the times with Florida, the way they work themselves back in is turnovers, and that put them in their in offensive territory already. Yeah, you have to make them work with the long field consistently. Really test Jameis's stamina over a drive. Yeah. But with all this being said, there are a lot of ifs. Yes. And I don't think all of them are attainable for BC. There's another huge if, and I wrote down here. The secondary, it has to hold Jameis at the most under 300 yards. Yeah, and that's a lot of leeway that I'm giving you. But that's if everything else is working too. If you just do that and everything else doesn't work, you're going to get blown out. Yeah. But the secondaries had their struggles this year. We've given up a lot of points to teams like USC and Louisville. You gave 38, 39 points. Team Colorado State, big, teams that don't score a lot in some opportunities, you're giving them opportunities to score a lot, and that's a problem. So when you're facing a team like FSU, if you do not hold them, if you let them throw all over you, you're going to have a problem. That's the problem with it. So if secondary steps up, leadership from what's his name? I can't think of his name. Our linebacker, whatever his name is. 25. Keys? Yeah, Josh Keys. If Josh Keys, someone like that, steps up, huge. You need that. He's not the safety that's going to be there, but he's have to command that middle. He's done a great job this year. And if he can put pressure on Jameis, that's huge too. If you can put Jameis in pressure situations and stop the run at the front line, you're putting yourself in a great position to give your offense the ball and make something happen. If your offense can't make something happen, then, if Jameis is going to face you 15 times, have 15 different drives against you, he's going to produce. And that's why you're not going to win the game in that case. So I just had here, Florida State wins if they play as a team. Now they have something here as a cohesive unit. That's not that hard. Jameis rips our secondary. If FSU if FSU defensive line beats our offensive line, it's over. If they get pressure on Murphy, and Murphy has like 3 seconds in the pocket every time, it's done. And finally, if Boston College goes down early and gets in a huge hole, they're one of those teams that they're usually if you're going into the half down, Boston College is not looking too bright. So especially against a Florida State team. So
when it all boils down, to win, FSU needs to do what they're expected to do.
Mm-hmm.
To win, BC needs to do what nobody thinks they can do.
Yes. So do you have you want to do picks? Like what we're thinking?
Yeah, sure.
Okay.
Like I said I gave you a little preview to it last week.
Mm-hmm.
This is the first time on the season I'm going to have to go against BC. There's just the only motivation to not would be to say you were the only guy who went on record as saying they're not.
Yeah. But
unfortunately, I can't do that.
Logic behind it, yeah.
Yeah, BC's. I don't think BC's got it this week. No. It should be a good game. And if they do get it, I'm happy. I'm more than happy to say, look at me, I got that pick wrong.
Darn, yeah. I'm fine with it. Yeah.
So I'm going to say FSU wins 38-14.
Okay. Yeah, I'm going to go along the same routes. I think FSU's got this. They're playing, it was one of those games I thought possibly could be a trap game. I still was going to pick FSU either way, but it would have been a lot closer. Now I think FSU's just going to, it could be close throughout the entire game. That's possible. I don't really think it's going to. I think it's always going to be a 2-possession game, either 2-touchdown game, 14 points. There's going to be signs of life from Boston College, but I don't think they're going to get it done. I think the final score is going to be 40-17. 40-17, 42-17. I'm gonna go 40-17 that FSU gets it. So we'll go into a break right now, and we're gonna come back with Giancarlo Stanton.
Matt Ryan, 21-24, 286 yards, 3 touchdowns. Still a dude.
Better than this. Guys being dudes.
Matt Ryan,
That's a dude.
Heisman Trophy. Bronco Nagurski Award.
Ultimate dudes.
Raji on my left, Herzlich on my right.
2 dudes. O-line you. Bunch of dudes.
Dudes to the right, dudes to the left, stuck in the middle with you.
WZBC, the Boston College Radio Network, the voice of the Eagles.
Welcome back here to Two Dudes Sports. All right. Welcome back to Two Dudes Sports Show. So we're going to break right into our call-in topic. We welcome you to join us on air tonight.
I'll just say the number to call in is 617-552-0152. That's 617-552-0152. And if you have our personal cells, you can call us too. Doesn't
Absolutely.
matter. We're discussing. You can talk about whatever you want, but our call-in topic tonight is Giancarlo Stanton. You want to give him a little background?
Yeah, sure. So Giancarlo Stanton earlier this week made it official with the Miami Marlins that he will supposedly be remaining in Miami for the next 13 years at a price tag of $325 million. Now, to break it down a little bit,
Yeah.
that number is definitely inflated because of how many years he's there. So when we talk about some of the biggest contracts, it averages out to $25 million a year. Not unheard of for baseball players. No. Not unheard of for superstars. Obviously, that's what Miami thinks this is. They think he's the piece to build around, and he could very well be. He's got an incredibly high ceiling, some amazing power that it comes along once in a generation. But the money isn't too staggering, except when you do it out. Yeah. If he were to remain for the next 13 years in Miami, he would be making $68,000 a day. A day. He performs on 162 of those days, plus the off chance that they make it in the playoffs. $68,000 a day for more than half the year. I mean, now, Grant, I'm not one of the people to say, he doesn't deserve it when he's not working. Because he's training, he's preparing for the season, they bring in money. It's a year long. Yeah.
Yeah, being an athlete is a lifestyle. It's a year-long career. Right. It's not when you leave the field's not when you leave your career. Exactly.
I don't have a problem with him making the money. At the core of it, I do have a problem with how much athletes make. I think it is a little bit too high. It's amazing to me.
Yeah.
But I don't have a problem with him making that money because that is the statute of the league right now. And, I mean, he's deserving of it. The real questionable thing here, and we talked about it a little bit before the show, is 13 years.
Yeah.
Absolutely ridiculous.
Yeah.
Absolutely ridiculous. 13-year-long contract?
Yes. This is what I am never, and I will never be a fan of big money, long-term contracts. That's what kills me. I'm a Yankee fan, so I am very used to this. I've seen it many a times. If you type in list of highest paid celebrities with the law, I mean, we'll do it right now. You want to type in largest salaries, longest salaries, whatever you want. I guarantee probably 4 out of the top 10 are from the Yankees. And it's seen through Alex Rodriguez, Mark Teixeira, CC Sabathia, probably Derek Jeter. I mean, that one probably works out a little more. But still, it's something where, and I don't understand it, like there are pros and cons to it. And I get it looks good on paper. I mean, looking here, Giancarlo Stanton's number 1, Miguel Cabrera number 2, A-Rod number 3, A-Rod number 4. The double contract. Robinson Cano.
Yeah,
Albert
you think about that.
Pujols.
A-Rod in his career has twice signed a 10-year deal.
Yep.
It's ridiculous.
It's something where, and here are the pros to it. So this is why it looks good on paper. First of all, it's showing promise to your city that a player, first of all, believes in the organization, believes in the city, and it's giving hope to a fan base, especially in a situation where Miami really hasn't had a lot to cheer for since they won in 2003, but they were a different team, Florida Marlins. Same idea, different team. So since then, they literally have done absolutely nothing, Miami has. And Giancarlo, honestly, hasn't proven that much. Is he an all-star? Yes. Has he hit bombs in the home run derby? Yes. But is he a top-tier player? Like you said, his ceiling could go on forever. Like people said Ken Griffey Jr. should go on forever, but it stopped eventually at one point. It's the same idea, and people have been, giving him comparisons like that. But he really hasn't proven anything to get a contract of this stature. That's what I don't understand. That's the thing that annoys me. It shows that he has faith to an organization. And from an outside perspective as a player, like, wow, Giancarlo can sit there for 13 years. I could hop in for 4 and see what we can do together. He's showing that he has trust in this organization and what they believe in.
But
and that's fine with him.
Yeah,
he's fine. He's fine in
there's
every
no reason
single
not to sign
realm.
it for him. But for Miami...
I get Giancarlo. I get why he signed it. Miami, this is what I don't get. I get that you're showing the people, hey, look, we're going to have this guy for 13 years. He's going to be the next Jeter for an organization. He's never going to leave us. He's going to be a Paul Konerko to the organization. He's going to stay there. He's going to love it. He's going to be, the Tom Brady. He's going to get the big bucks. He's going to be there forever, and he's going to be your poster child. That's what he's going to be. But the risk of 13 years is insane. You don't know what's going to happen to this kid.
No.
He's had injury problems. That's number 1. Second of all, an insane amount of strikeouts. That's number 2. He has never been a leader of your team into the postseason. Sure, he's only been around for a few years.
This is a stretched.
Go for it.
A stretched analogy, and I don't know if it'll be lost on you. It was more of a Boston thing.
Sure.
But he is a more skillful Willie Mopena.
Okay. Yeah.
When he hits. It's gone. It's out of the park.
It's over the green monster.
But he strikes out like crazy.
Yes.
Now,
He's an Adam Dunn. It's like the same thing, but I mean, not Adam Dunn was never at the level that Giancarlo can seem to be.
Yeah.
There were times when Adam Dunn was like, Adam Dunn. It's that guy who's going to hit he can hit 700-foot home runs. So what? Yes, he's great to see. Yes, it can sell tickets for a little bit, but Adam Dunn was very injury prone. Willie Mopena was baseball's a sport where you can be going around first base and just tear your hamstring because you stepped on a pebble. It's one of those things that can kill you, and that's the thing with sports. That's why, in my opinion, this is my pure opinion, you should never sign a contract over 6 years. Teams have done it. They've done 10 with Alex Rodriguez. Then, in the midst of that, yes, he got you a ring. I get it. You got you a ring. Maybe it's worth it in that respect. But it's also, you had a steroid era. You missed him this entire year. You've been paying him. I don't know if maybe they took away his pay for this year, but still, he's under contract and he's been in that entire organization. It's a waste because you could have gone after another third baseman in that case. Right. Same thing with Sabathia. Sabathia has been someone that he got you a ring, yes, but ever since then, supposed to be your number 1. I think he's the number 4 this year for the Yankees, and he was injured for basically predominantly the biggest point of the season where they needed him. He was there in the beginning, absolutely looked terrible, and then he came through. He didn't come through. Then when he needed to come through, he wasn't there. Another thing was like Teixeira. Teixeira has been with the Yankees when he needed to be, like during that World Series stretch where he played fantastic. And then since then, up and down, always on the bench, off the bench, because he's injured. and he gets in those scenarios. So Yankees are notorious for doing these big contracts, and there's some that it's worked out. If you look at Miguel Cabrera so far, but he's in the early stages of it. Same thing with Cano. He's only in his first year. These contracts don't play out until you get into that fourth year ish. Who knows what could happen with Giancarlo? He's been injured before. You don't know, and I think it's idiotic. Is it smart for Giancarlo? Yes,
of course.
But he may get to that fourth year and go, wait, I have 9 more years to go with this team. Like, oh, it's July and we're 10 games out. What do I have to play for? Then you just give up on your team, and people are like, well, he's just playing for the money now. He's not even going out there and performing. He's being a Derrick Rose and sitting on the bench. Like, it's just something where if you give the guy guarantee money, it's just something where it's so enticing.
It can take away motivation.
I think that the best thing you could ever do is for somebody that's had problems in the past, give him a 1-year contract and be like, you play for us, let's see what you can do. Nelson Cruz this year has been a perfect example
Everybody
of that.
Performs in a contract year. Everybody performs in a contract year.
So guess what? Giancarlo's next contract year, guess when that's going to be?
Aside from his opt-out deal.
2027.
Yeah. I mean, it is crazy.
It's just ridiculous. I don't get it. I don't get it.
Not at all.
I thought it was a joke when I first heard it.
Well, the thing is, all right, so you look at it this way. For one, it's too long to put yourself in those handcuffs. Now, it's not uncommon. Like, we're on a website right now. There are tons of contracts that have been made that are over 10 years.
Yep.
But if you look at the top 5, Giancarlo is the only one not in ice hockey. There's a reason for that.
Yes.
Because there isn't such a high pay grade.
Yep.
If you look at, so the number 4 length contract tied with Giancarlo is 13 years for Alex Ovechkin. He is making $200 million less, $201 million.
Yep.
He's got a 13-year deal for $124 million.
It's the insane stature.
Obviously the market isn't as big, so they're adjusted for that.
Sure.
But at the end of the day, hockey players are not making as much. Mm-hmm. 1. 2, there are points all along the way to restructure the deals.
Exactly.
If Giancarlo wants to play in Miami, he can keep playing in Miami and making that insane amount of money.
Yep.
Because Miami doesn't get the opportunity to restructure him, so what they'd have to do is try to unload him in a trade. But guess what? With a back-heavy contract, who's going to pick up $30 million a year? Nobody's going to do that. They're going to wait for you to release him and take an insane cap hit.
I was upset with the Yankees picking up Steven Drew's contract. How would you feel if Giancarlo's contract was dumped on you? I would cry.
There's not going to be another LA Dodgers scenario where they take all the mistakes the Red Sox made and just take it lump sum at once. Nobody else has the potential to do that. That was a special scenario where LA was new ownership, has the money to play with.
Yep.
That doesn't just come along. There's no unloading this contract for Miami, because what's going to happen is he's going to make it through those first 6 years. He's going to be phenomenal. Like, it wouldn't surprise me at all. Like, bar injuries.
Best deal ever.
He's got a great contract. If he wants to opt out after 6 years, he can. But I mean, when you're sitting in a back-heavy contract, what's the motivation to? If they have any success over the next 6 years at all, then there you go. There's motivation to stay there. There's motivation to make that money.
But right now they have nobody around him.
They have nobody around him. They have to build around him.
Yes, and that's what this is doing. This is showing here's your centerpiece. Now play chess around him. Get him whoever he needs to produce and win. But you need a pitching staff. You need people to produce at different times. You need big name people in there too, because you're not going to win with a bunch of like scrubs out there. I mean, the Royals have kind of diluted to that, but they had more people than Giancarlo. They didn't have that big name guy. Their biggest name guy was probably Moustakis or Alex Gordon or Billy Butler. It wasn't the biggest name guy in the field, and you have a bunch of good, solid players. That's a little different than one guy and then a bunch of dropouts from there. So we're gonna see. It's gonna be interesting to see how Miami plays this.
Yeah, just to continue a little bit with the train there. After 6 years, the worst thing that can happen for Miami is for Giancarlo to decide, I want to stay in Miami. Honestly, you've tied him up. That's great.
Yeah.
But I pray to God for the organization of Miami that this contract is for show. That this contract does nothing more than say to other people, we're committed to him.
Yeah.
He's committed to us. You don't want him there for 13 years. Who stays that
I don't even
relevant
know
for 13 years?
Or is a 13-year All-Star? You
doesn't
literally
happen.
out of the major leagues, how many people actually do that?
Nobody.
How many people? They're literally. I mean, Jeter maybe not. What Jeter?
But
wasn't
Jeter's
even that
not
long.
worth $30 million in his 12th year.
Yeah, that's also true. You're paying him an insane amount for something that he's not going to be a 13-year All-Star. He's not. That's very, very. He's in his prime right now. He's getting to his. He may not even be in his prime right now. That's what the Marlins are looking at too.
No, I don't think he is. I think he's got a ceiling.
Exactly, but how far does that ceiling go? It doesn't go 13 years.
No.
Baseball, I mean, you can spread out a career. I don't know how old he is. I would love to know.
26.
He's 26.
So, there are a lot of sites that are saying, these are the reasons Miami had to make this deal, because they did the whole sign everybody and then dump them after one bad season.
Exactly.
Okay, but I'm sorry. That's Miami's fault for management. Don't compile a bad decision with another one. It's insane to me. I'm sorry. Even if he was making 25 every year from then on out, that's fine. Why would you be paying him less now and more then? I understand there's the element of proving yourself.
That's
sure.
the thing. Yeah,
But at the end
it
of
looks
the day,
good on paper.
it's insanity to me because he's gonna get to that point. Say he stays after that 6 years, he's gonna get to year 8. They're still gonna be. They're still gonna suck.
The Marlins.
They're still the Marlins. Where's the fan base? You're not
That's
drawing
the problem.
people.
You're
not drawing people with a 13-year contract. Oh, God, yeah, I want to go to the ballpark to see a 13-year player.
You're not going to bring. I don't even know how many. That stadium probably holds 50 to 60,000. Is my guess. You're not going to bring. Who's showing up to a Miami Marlins game? I guarantee you probably average 30,000. Not even.
If that.
Not even.
If that.
So are you even getting Giancarlo there? Giancarlo hasn't brought the crowd in the past. Is he going to bring the crowd this year? Just because he has 13 years, and people maybe Giancarlo Stanton jerseys go more up because they're like, oh, this is never going to go out of style. But it just doesn't make sense. Miami's one of those cities, too, that you cannot keep something how do I say it? You cannot just keep. It's not one of those. It's not New York. It's not Boston where they're going to stay faithful. Thick and thick. They're not going to sell out Fenway. Fenway Park sells out every night.
It's a fair weather city. It's a fair weather fan base.
Yes. Miami is a place where pro sports aren't at the peak. Even the Heat. Everybody were Heat fans because the Heat were winning. If you don't win, no one will show up. Here in Boston, you don't win. People are still going to show up because you're going to be good eventually. Miami has to prove that. And honestly, they've never...
Even if you're not. The Celtics went through a period after all the championships with Larry Bird where they're miserable.
Yeah.
Ray Bourque, the entirety of Ray Bourque's career, he did not win a title with the Bruins.
Yeah.
Yet they sell out every single game.
Yep.
Yet everybody loves Ray Bourque. We rejoiced in Boston when Ray Bourque went away and won a title with the Avalanche.
Because he deserved it.
That was a win for Boston because he's a Boston guy. There's no loyalty with Giancarlo Stanton.
No.
I'm sorry. The average person is not looking at this contract and thinking, oh, wow, well, this is a great show of loyalty by Giancarlo Stanton.
No.
Maybe a handful of players in the MLB
and
are
if they're
saying
looking
that.
at it, it's from our perspective,
Right.
not in Miami. Not in Miami.
No. In Miami, you're saying, oh, well, there you go. There's another
cool.
decade of being the bottom of the barrel.
Yeah. As a Miami fan, you see this and you're like, all right, we got the stars. That's cool, but I'm still going to go to one Marlins game a year. Not even. Even when LeBron brought the 3 people there, the reason you were a Heat fan, I would love to go down to Miami. People probably, I would say name the starting 5 for the Heat, and I guarantee they couldn't even name 3. They'd probably name, Dwayne Wade, LeBron James, that big guy, what's his name? I think his number's 4. Oh, you mean Bosch? Yeah. Chalmers. Yeah, I can't even name, it just doesn't make sense.
Yeah,
it doesn't make sense, especially in Miami's market. What are you trying to prove?
Right.
You're trying to outlast. You're trying to create something out of nothing. You're not doing a good job. I think the Mets signing Michael Kadire, a veteran guy, is a smarter move with a 1-2 year contract.
It is. I mean,
lock him up for 6, maybe 8, but not 13. 6 at the most.
Yeah. I don't know.
Okay.
At the end of the day, the reason the 6-year opt-out clause is in there is because that's what you actually wanted to sign him for. 6 years with Giancarlo Stanton, if they sign a 6-year deal at $25 million a year, I say great deal. Fantastic deal.
Exactly.
But 13 years, I'm sorry, it's just overkill at that point. Now you're just looking for flashy numbers.
And he hasn't proven anything. That's what I don't get. Usually they prove something and they get a contract.
I mean,
Alex Rodriguez.
That's a little bit of a dichotomy, though. I will say that because
that's usually when they're past their prime. Though.
Right,
that's
right. If you play long enough to prove something, then it's too late to get the contract.
He's one of those guys. I think he's one of the first true guys that is maybe not before his prime and getting the big name contract. Because you look at it, look at something like Albert Pujols.
Miggy.
I mean, Miggy's is working out so far, but that's also because it's in the beginning. Yes. Pujols is failing miserably in Los Angeles. Yes, they made the playoffs this year, but not because of him, because they got a lucky draft pick called Mike Trout. That's why.
Yeah.
And a bunch of no-names that play in the outfield. It's not because of Pujols. Pujols can barely move anymore. You need a wheelchair for him to get out there. And you signed him for, I think, 11 years. And you're probably in, like, year 4. It's just, this is what can happen. And same thing with Josh Hamilton. Oh, my goodness. You want to talk about a fluke. He hasn't done anything. I think he lost his starting job. Sometimes he plays. The reason your team is winning is because of a boy named Mike Trout. I almost said Mike Stanton, Giancarlo's former name. It's just, I think we've summed up this topic enough.
Yeah,
I don't agree. I don't think you should go past 6 years. That's my opinion. And I think it looks great on paper. I get why you're doing it, Miami, but you're Miami. That's the problem. You're in a terrible, terrible place. If a Mets pull a deal like this, even like Johan Santana, I don't even know how long they signed him for, but he was a bust. Other than he threw a no-hitter, great. You have done absolutely nothing for an organization.
No. I mean, look, to just finish with this, I mean, the Yankees make these mistakes, but the Yankees have
but we also
so much money, so they can find themselves back in. You look at good competitive teams, St. Louis, they didn't make that mistake. That's why Albert Pujols isn't sucking up St. Louis anymore. The Red Sox, they don't make that mistake. Yeah, it comes with a price. We lost John Lester last season because we weren't willing to just
But you may be getting him back.
Right. You still may be getting him back. I mean, like this time,
there's a good chance he's going to come back.
Oh, I think so too. I mean, like that.
I don't think Sandoval's coming though.
No, I don't think so. I don't want Sandoval to come. It's ridiculous.
Those are the two that are on the hot stove right now for Boston. So
yeah,
Boston
they are. They're really going after, but they're going to have to go out of their comfort zone a little bit with Lester, but the most Lester gets is a 6-year deal.
Lester deserves it, though.
He does.
What he's done to that city, I respect the heck out of him through all he's been through with the whole cancer thing, for him being in the Derek Jeter video, for everything. He is he was the person I respected the most in Boston from your entire team. I mean, Pedroia's heart's another thing. You talk about people that you love. There. You love to hate type there. You hate to love. Like either way, looking at it from Boston and New York, it's like you respect the heck out of it. And now that you look at it as like as a baseball player in high school, you look at Pedroia and you just like respect the heck out of him for his journey. I hated him when I was a little younger because like he'd always get the job done against the Yankees. And the same thing that they looked at Jeter like. You guys looked at Jeter. You're like, oh, Jeter again. It's Jeter. I can't get enough Jeter. You respect the heck out of him, though.
Right. And I will say the one person that, I mean, this is a totally different topic, but just while we're on that, the one person that I think has transcended it, Mariano Rivera.
Okay.
I don't think at any point you could ever say, no.
Okay, I did not think that's where I was going.
Really? What'd you think?
I thought you were going to bring up Eli Manning.
Oh, no.
But that's different.
I don't respect him.
No, I didn't think you did. You don't respect Mario?
No, I'm saying I do. At no point did I hate Mario.
You mean always?
Always.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, I thought you
were going hate.
No.
Eli. I was like, what has Eli done? Oh yeah.
There was never a hate, but respect. It was always just respect Mario.
Sure. Okay.
He was an incredible professional.
I mean, the professionals, even more professional than Jeter, in my opinion. But I think that ends it. You want to just? I'll go to the intro.
Yeah, go for it.
I'll go to the intro, and we'll be right.
Matt Ryan, 21 of 24, 286 yards, 3 touchdowns. Still a dude.
Better than this. Guys being dudes.
Matt Ryan,
That's a dude.
Heisman Trophy. Bronco Nagurski Award.
Ultimate dudes.
Raji on my left, Herzlich on my right.
2 dudes. O-line you. Bunch of dudes.
Dudes to the right, dudes to the left, stuck in the middle with you.
WZBC, the Boston College Radio Network, the voice of the Eagles.
Welcome back here, WZBC Two Dudes Sports Show, back again for the last 20 minutes here. We're going to talk a little college football. Big shakeup in the rankings.
Big shakeup.
Obviously, we knew this was coming. The Mississippi State Alabama game. Alabama comes out on top. Score was a lot closer than the game indicated.
Yeah.
I mean, obviously Mississippi State had
Alabama
their chances, but Alabama had it well in tow the entire time. And Alabama just clears everybody, and pollers were just looking for an excuse to put them back in the number 1 slot.
Yeah.
They jump FSU, well, actually all the way from 5, jump TCU, FSU, Oregon, and they slide right up into number 1.
ESPN, AP and ESPN ranked them differently. One had FSU as 1. The other had Alabama as 1. So Alabama did jump in one of them. FSU
in the college football.
Yes, in the poll, in the pure college football. Yes. It's interesting to see. I mean, Alabama's strength of schedule obviously a lot harder than FSU's up to this point. That's probably why. But FSU, the last undefeated left, which is kind of surprising because I thought they'd go down at some point during their schedule, at least once to prove it. But it's crazy to think that Jameis Winston has never lost in his career at FSU. If you're not going to count baseball, because I'm sure he's lost in baseball. But yeah, as a pure
football
pure quarterback, he has never lost. Yeah.
So my issue is not them jumping FSU. I think they totally deserve to jump FSU.
Sure, and either
FSU,
way,
I honestly like. It's just they don't. It's almost like they shouldn't be there.
Yeah, it's like they have yet to blow anybody out. They have yet to win it. Every game is down to the wire. They're losing at half type thing. So, do they deserve to be in the Final Four? Absolutely, and they're going to get in there. That's my opinion. But and they'll probably show up and just like transcend everything we said, like they did last year against Auburn. Like,
I wouldn't be surprised.
It's just like that's what they do. It's really strange, but it's just from being down in Notre Dame, Louisville, Clemson, Miami, even NC State. It's just it doesn't make sense because like you see a team like Alabama, they haven't done that.
No, they don't.
And the one game that Alabama lost this year, it's completely different in that respect because SEC day week in week out you're playing another SEC team unless you're playing your 3 cupcakes on the schedule. That's really it. But other than that, you have to respect SEC for their scheduling.
Yeah, of course. I mean, I'll just say this. I mean, obviously this is a little bit of bias being an Oregon fan, but I was a little surprised they jumped him.
Sure. I mean, more because they had a bye week.
Yeah.
Yeah, they had a bye week, correct. Yeah.
Yeah, for sure. But I mean, like my thing with it is like obviously
proven,
like Oregon's losses to Arizona. So I mean, Arizona sits at 15 right now, so it's still a respectable loss. Alabama's losses to Ole Miss, who sits at 8-2 as well. So, I mean, I think that, and ESPN has been talking a lot about how this year it's not going to be strength of wins, but weakness of losses.
Yeah.
If Ole Miss loses to Mississippi State, then I don't see any reason Alabama should be ahead of Oregon. Oregon's loss then becomes better than Alabama's.
Sure.
Ole Miss will have 3 losses to Arizona's 2.
If Ole Miss is a 3-loss team, exactly. It's the same.
So, I mean, I was just a little surprised. I mean, yeah, obviously bye week, but Oregon, aside from the Pac-12 championship, won't really have a chance to prove themselves and reclaim that number 1. So it really more falls to, and Alabama. I mean they'll have the Auburn game. So say they lose the Auburn game, that's something different. But if Alabama wins out, they retain the number 1 spot. I don't really see a chance for movement.
No, correct.
So that really
the way it's looking right now, there's only a realm of 7 teams that can make it at this point, and even Baylor being a 1-loss team, I think is a stretch at this point. So I think TCU is predominantly better. What we're looking at now, Alabama is basically a surefire lock. I don't see them losing to Auburn at all. The way Auburn's collapsed, that's another thing. Auburn was number 2.
How great would it be to watch them win?
Oh no, you can't. You could have a game like you had like last year, where it's just. Well, I mean, it's one of those games that's heightened, so it's not like. It's not like, Alabama's got this 100%. I just don't think they're going to drop that game. The way they've been playing, how they dominated, Mississippi State. It's something that's different. Honestly, they should have lost LSU. They should.
Yeah, they should have lost LSU.
LSU really, really screwed themselves up right there. Yeah. But looking at it, Oregon. I don't see Oregon dropping another big game now that it was going to come down to that Pac-12, and they'd probably be playing a team like an Arizona State originally, if I'm correct.
Oregon the Pac-12
in a championship.
Yeah, it would probably be
Arizona State.
Actually, it's surprisingly unclear.
Now it's unclear. I'm saying before Arizona State was in the running, and then just how about going out and kicking Notre Dame in the behind, and then just blowing it against Oregon State. Makes absolutely no college football and football in general makes no sense.
This year has just been a crazy year.
So Arizona State, a team that was up there, like boom boom, Arizona State maybe making a run, they just drop out of nowhere. Notre Dame drops to Northwestern at home. I watched that game, just disgraceful from the Fighting Irish to drop 3 now, and they're gone. They're out of the top 25. They are. They're out of the top 25, which is insane to think about because they were literally, I mean, we're talking about 4 weeks ago, we were talking about why they were ranked so low.
Yeah.
I was talking about why Michigan State's better than them, and Michigan State's right now 11th and Notre Dame's gone. So things can happen so quickly. Auburn's 14th, and they were like in my Final Four originally maybe. So right now we're looking at Alabama, which I think is going to get it. Oregon, which I think is going to get it because I don't think anything stands in their way. Florida State, all they have to do is beat Boston College and Florida, and then they'll have the championship game.
Mm-hmm.
So they're sitting pretty. Maybe if they lose one, I still think they get it.
Oh, really? I don't think they get it if they lose one. I think mathematically they should, but I don't think they do. I don't think voters have enough confidence in them.
It comes down to how they lose it. Like you said, it's the weakness of the loss type thing.
Yeah.
But I really think a one-loss team from a different conference is going to get it at this respect.
Yeah.
That's just my personal opinion. Mississippi State's one of those teams that I'm not sure yet. Obviously, the Ole Miss win or loss can come down in the end to it. Yeah. Losing to Alabama, though, that's not a bad loss.
If you look at Alabama, really is not. That's why
it helps them. And then TCU is another team that you can go.
TCU's game against Texas is definitely a trap game.
It's week to week with TCU that you don't know, and then they always beating West Virginia on a field goal to win the game, and they haven't had they're one of those teams that haven't had surefire victories either. So I think if Florida State still drops one, I think they ended it, and then Ohio State sneakily coming up too. They have one loss and against Virginia Tech, but that's a problem. It's because it's against Virginia Tech, who beat Duke this weekend. Why? I have no idea. Duke making a run in the ACC like they always do in the end, and then suddenly they just drop to Virginia Tech, who's played terribly since they beat that Ohio State team. So they're there too, and then Baylor too. But I don't see Baylor really doing anything unless you really had to have some big drops. So it's going to be interesting to see. But I think the top 3 is going to stay where it is, and then that Mississippi State team can either fluctuate. So
I will say this: there is one person that a lot of people are not figuring in who does have a legitimate shot. There's one team left who is on nobody's radar. Georgia. If Georgia wins the SEC championship game, now that it would require...
It's a big win. And who do they have
they'd
left
have to
this
beat
season?
Alabama. I believe they're pretty much set for the SEC championship game. They beat Auburn this weekend.
Yes, but they also lost Todd Gurley for the year.
They did, yeah, but they've had... Todd Gurley's been gone the entire year, pretty much. So.
Yes, but still.
Well, Nick Chubb is fantastic.
Yes, he's...
I mean, they still have the 14th ranked rushing in the country.
Yeah, I just think it's something that's going to come into factor later on.
No, I think it will come into factor, but they lose to... they got Charleston Southern. They're going to win that game. And then Georgia Tech, there's no reason they should.
Very good this year.
They are, but
I think I don't know what's their exact rank if you go back. They were 22 last week. Now they're 18. Probably up. Yeah. So that's why
they're very good, but I think that Georgia can handle them. I'm saying also if Georgia handles them.
Oh yeah.
If Georgia gets into
I can see what you're saying. I do see what you're saying.
If they win the SEC championship game, I don't think it's going to happen, but I'd say that you have everybody in the top 6 has a chance. 7, 8, 9 do not have a chance anymore. 7, 8, 9 are out of the playoffs, but 10's alive. 10 is alive because for one, Mississippi State, if they lose to Ole Miss, then they're out.
Sure.
And Ole Miss doesn't figure in. They've still got 2 losses, and they're not going to the SEC championship game, so they're effectively out. And that would take Mississippi State out too. So now you've got an open spot. Ohio State just doesn't really. I just don't think they deserve to be up there. I mean, they're very good, and obviously their loss was coming off.
I think it's the Big Ten in general. Just doesn't look strong.
Right.
I mean, honestly, who are the strong teams? I mean,
Michigan State. Be it.
And Wisconsin's not even that. I mean, they're 16 right now. Melvin Gordon, unbelievable. Yeah, that's an unbelievable story. 406 yards, was it, in 3 quarters? That's
crazy. We'll talk a little bit about that. But
still.
But so, just what I'm saying is, I mean, I don't know.
Would you take a 2-loss? As you're saying, would you take a 2-loss Georgia over a 1-loss Ohio State?
Yes. I'm just saying if Mississippi State loses to Ole Miss, and I mean obviously to put Georgia in this position they'd have to beat Alabama, then you have no SEC up there who's good to get in. So Georgia would effectively be the one SEC representative.
Okay.
So I mean, shout out to Patrick down at Georgia coming up here on Saturday. Look forward to seeing him.
Oh, cool.
Your team's not dead. I would say that I think of anybody outside the top 4, they have the best chance of getting in.
Okay.
To be honest.
I can see that. I mean, a lot the stars have to align for that to happen. I agree.
But I mean, even if
But
Mississippi State doesn't drop to Ole Miss,
yeah.
Alabama's going to make it over them. I think Georgia really has a legitimate shot of maybe sneaking in the 2 SEC teams. I think that if Alabama loses to Georgia in the SEC championship game, if that is what ends up happening, I think that they'd have a legitimate
I
case.
agree with you in the respect that it's possible. Like, I think they could do it. I don't think they will. I don't think they will.
No.
Yes, if you're going based on like odds, I think it's possible.
Yeah.
I think that maybe they do have the best chance, but
Yeah.
I think losing Todd Gurley, though he hasn't been here for most of it,
Right.
give or take. I mean, he wasn't there for the Florida game, and they lost tremendously. If you look at their schedule, they have big wins. Like, if you look at the big wins, like actual, they were faced a number 16 Clemson, which is no long. I'm not even sure if they're ranked anymore. If they are, it's low 20s. South Carolina, again.
It's a tough loss. But I mean,
that's
Missouri,
the team they lost to. That's something you need.
Missouri's a good win though.
Oh, 34-0, huge.
Yeah.
But
and then Alabama
Missouri's
34-7.
Yes.
It's a very impressive win.
Auburn, yes.
And then if they beat Georgia Tech, if Georgia Tech, that'll be Georgia Tech's last game, so they have nowhere to go but up.
I think it's just their strength of schedule is just not compared to like.
It's not, but I think that you wipe away the concerns about the strength of schedule with a win over Alabama.
That's true too. You have to, yeah.
I'm just saying, yeah.
No,
I mean, like it would be hard. It would be hard if Mississippi State won out. But if they beat Alabama in the SEC championship game, and you're left looking for an SEC
huge proving point, yeah.
Then you have to go Georgia.
Yeah.
If Georgia wins the SEC championship game, having Mississippi State lost to Ole Miss, then they have to be in it.
Yeah.
I just don't. There's no way to put it. But if Mississippi State doesn't lose and Georgia wins, then Georgia doesn't necessarily have to be in it, and they could find themselves right outside at like the 5 maybe. So
there you go.
Yeah.
There's our college football preview. Again, Boston College taking on FSU down in Tallahassee this weekend. That's 3:30 here on WZBC, the FM studio. I think our own Kyle Egan's going to be down there, so be a fantastically called game.
Absolutely.
You can watch it on ESPN too, but it's better to get the student's perspective, isn't it? So we're going to move straight to the NFL. We got about 8 minutes to go. So NFL, really, I think it's starting to shift and really shape out what teams are really starting to look like they're going to be teams to mess with the playoffs coming up, because we're over halfway done now in week 12 now. So it's going to be interesting to see what teams are really starting to shape up. I don't know if you have any favorites going forward. I'm sure you have one favorite in mind, but we'll talk about the games too. But first, we'll start off with what teams are you looking at right now, AFC and NFC, and then divisions in total are looking better than the others that you see teams really producing from?
Well,
you can take AFC because that's obviously the stronger division. If
yes,
you agree.
I think AFC
cool.
is definitely the stronger division. Just top to bottom. I mean, you've got. I mean, at the top you've got Denver and New England.
Yep.
You've got Kansas City, who's a phenomenal regular season power. I do think that they're still going to struggle to get over the hump in the playoffs.
It's one, yeah.
I'd be surprised to see them in the championship game.
I
really believe that
their city's amazing. The atmosphere they can build off that is
absolutely
amazing. So that's
but I really do believe that we're looking at another Denver New England AFC championship game. It would not surprise me at all.
Yeah. You still have Pittsburgh.
Pittsburgh is surprised a little bit of a revival there. James Harrison's back. That's good to see. He's a
it's an up and down team though. Yeah, that's
it is an up and down team. And the Chargers are like, I don't know. They're decent. They're up and down as well.
And down.
The Colts, I would say, at the point they are the strongest team.
Yeah, they look top, but again,
strongest to lowest ranking.
You played New England. New England is, in my opinion, the out front leader in AFC, and for all the problems they had at the beginning of this year, New England has looked fantastic since that. Gronk has looked as healthy as ever. I'll knock on wood for you, New England fans. Jonas Gray, Notre Dame alum, coming out of nowhere. This is what New England does. Just makes no names out of makes big names out of no names, not no names. And you have something where you're starting to have a stronger run game. Possibly Brady's doing well. You have that team working
Blunt,
on.
LeGarrette Blunt just got signed.
Yep.
Just of note,
Exactly.
It'll be interesting to see.
Dropped by Steelers, and now he gets picked up. So that'll be interesting. I think this is the second time around in New England.
Second time around, he had just about 800 yards last season. Had that 4-touchdown performance that propelled us over the Colts in the playoffs. Almost single-handedly took us to that win.
Sure.
And then didn't want to sign him after that. Steelers signed him to a 2-year deal, release him, and it's good to see him back. I'm happy to see him back.
It's looking in New England, like the running game has always been like kind of like the secondary concern because you always had Brady throwing. It makes sense. But outright, every game that I've watched for the past 3 or 4 weeks have been absolute domination for New England. They look at the upright, outmost leaders and all that. But surprisingly, their record is not the best in the NFL. Moving to the NFC, it's the Arizona Cardinals, which is interesting.
It is interesting. It is fabulous to see them doing well. I am a big fan. And, if Larry Fitzgerald is going to stick it out in Arizona his whole career, then he
that's one
damn well
really
needs some type of title there.
Yeah.
Because he's a really good guy, a class act.
You only have one problem: is you don't have a quarterback.
Right.
I mean,
so
you want to call Drew Stanton is not going to win the Super Bowl.
No,
he's just not. Do you have a fantastic defense? You have an amazing secondary with Honey Badger and Peterson.
Absolutely.
Oh, it's
crazy.
It's amazing to look at. Yeah,
amazing.
So
it truly
is.
That
can propel you far. But then again, you look at like the Jets. They were not going to win a Super Bowl with Mark Sanchez. Their defense was out of this world with Rex Ryan. You had Revis, and you had everybody on that secondary, that linebacker core, that the defensive line was awesome for New York for 2 years, but Sanchez just couldn't close. Team stepped ahead of them. It made sense. They were an AFC. They were a team could get to the AFC Championship, but they couldn't get over the hump. This is what's going to happen with Arizona too. Right now, in my opinion, best team in the NFC are the Packers.
Yeah. Oh yeah.
And they've had problems in the beginning of the year. Same thing like New England, but they have killed top tier teams. Yeah. I don't know if you call the Bears a top tier team, but Philly is leading the NFC with the Cowboys right now. And they're a top tier team, and they went into Green Bay. I said Sanchez was not going to do a thing, wasn't even going to move the ball, and that's exactly what Green Bay did. So if you come into Green Bay's house, you're going to have a problem.
Yeah, and that's the thing. I think that home field is going to play a lot in this.
Oh yeah,
you talk about a lot about, and like I said, I think the AFC Championship is going to come down to Manning and Brady.
Yeah.
But you know what? It's a little bit different this time going around. If things stay the way it is, it's in Gillette this year.
Yeah.
Peyton Manning doesn't come in to Gillette and win playoff games. It just doesn't happen. He doesn't come into Gillette and win, period. He's not going to do it when crunch time comes down.
No.
It's the same reason I think the Packers could very well end up in the Super Bowl.
Yeah.
If you have to play at Lambeau,
I could easily see Patriots Packers. Easily.
Yeah, oh yeah.
Another sneaky team, though, that I just want to put my I don't think NFC East is going anywhere. Cowboys, Eagles, I don't think you're going anywhere. A sneaky team that it's just one of those big picks for me that, it's an interesting pick. Maybe they're not going to produce. The Lions. I think the Lions are one of those teams.
They're an interesting team.
Stafford's starting to become a vet. He's getting older. He's getting older. Calvin Johnson, prime / maybe going a little over it. And in my opinion, if they can step up and the defense can play well, because they're one of those teams that they win sneakily week to week to week. That's what they do. And they have the same. They have the same record as the Packers, so they could do some damage in the NFC North. But you want to move into games now? We'll talk about games. So tonight we got Kansas City Chiefs, Oakland Raiders. I don't think this takes much insight.
No, I'm just really sick of ESPN. Like, I mean, you booked a terrible series of primetime games. Stop trying to play it up like it's a rivalry game.
Yeah, no.
It's not. Kansas City's 7-3. Raiders are 0-10.
Yeah.
No question here. 0-11. Raiders are going home.
It doesn't matter where you're playing with the Raiders. You can be at home. No. It doesn't matter. Chiefs are going to come in there and take it from you. So definitely the Chiefs. Then you got the Browns and the Falcons. Two teams. Falcons actually leading the NFC South. That's how pathetic the NFC South is.
Yeah, it's a disgusting division.
Yeah.
Browns take it. Josh Gordon, you come back your first week, buddy. I've held you on the bench for weeks upon weeks, just waiting for this. I'm giving you the first week. Go. Please do something.
Yeah.
Give me some juice.
I'll take the Browns. Yeah, I'm taking the Browns too. Titans at the Eagles. The Eagles bounce back.
Yeah, I think they do.
Yeah, definitely. Eagles at home are a dangerous package. Lions at the Patriots. I've been talking about the Lions.
Yeah.
Do they stick it to the Pats and Gillette?
They do not stick it to that.
Yeah, they don't either. I think when they're at home, they're a different team than when they're on the road. Packers at Vikings. Pack.
The Packers.
Yeah. Yeah, Vikings have had just an abysmal year, and they're not going to play well outside. Packers will get it. Jags at the Colts. The Colts bounce back from the Pats.
Yeah, Colts definitely bounce back.
Colts got it.
Competition there.
Colts got it. Bengals at Texans. That's one of those games that can go either way.
Yeah, it's an interesting game. Texans have been playing much better of late, and I've picked against them consistently. I'll give them the nod of faith this week.
Yeah.
I think Texans get it.
J.J. Watt's got my full trust. He'll get it today. Jets at the Bills. It's going to be snowy in Buffalo.
They have canceled the game. Or postponed the game. It's not going to be on Sunday anymore.
Did not know that.
The question is, could it be on Tuesday? And I heard Colin Cowherd talking about this earlier today. That would be an incredible week. How fantastic would that be? Right. You go Thursday night, and then just a good slew of games. Saturday,
college,
and then Sunday, Monday night, good game.
It's awesome.
Tuesday night, then you have that to hold you over till a slew of games on Thanksgiving. It'd be fantastic. I think the Bills take it.
Yeah, I'll take the Bills too. I think the Jets are just
if
Jets.
It happens.
Jets is one of those teams I just can't pick you. So
no.
Bucks at the Bears. Bears won their first game at home last week.
Yeah, they
2
did.
Weeks ago. Last week.
Impressive. Yeah. Not Bucks.
All right, yeah, I'll take the Bears at home. I think they start bouncing back a little bit, but I do like the way the Bucks have been playing. Cardinals at the Seahawks. Do the best team in the league stay the best team in the league?
I don't believe they do. I'll tell you why. The Seahawks have had a really rough season, but the talent is still there.
Yeah.
I think we talked about the NFC being the evidently weaker division. Last year, it was not the case. Last year, San Francisco was great, and at least in my mind, there was no question it was Seattle all the way.
Sure.
Last year, they're a fantastic team.
Yeah.
Okay, this is a turnaround week for Seattle. I don't think Seattle's season is lost just yet. They get a huge win against Arizona.
I could easily see that, but I think Arizona stays ahead of the game. I think they got something they can work with here. I don't think they're going to be that team. I think they're going to be that team in the regular season, then they're going to implode in the playoffs. But for right now, Cardinals take it. Rams, another sneaky just killer team that just like sweeps out your legs against the Chargers. Chargers at home. What do you got?
I'll give it to the Rams this week. Trey Mason really had a coming out party. He did really well last.
I think Phillip Rivers is going to destroy the Rams defense. Not going to be enough. Dolphins at the Broncos.
Broncos
at home are filth. Redskins at the 49ers.
I'll give it to the 49ers.
Yeah, I'll take 49ers too. Redskins just looking bad. A lot of internal
hesitating
problems.
a little bit. Thinking back to the Broncos. Broncos suffered a really tough loss this week. So I guess can't really just not write off Miami. But I think the Broncos.
Yeah, Cowboys at the Giants.
This is the one time where I'd be happy to see the Giants win. Yeah. But it's Cowboys.
I think the Giants. I'm one of those guys. I say this all the time. I think the Giants at home. They build off something. They're not playing for much. I think having a home crowd something that they really need to experience. They played. It was rough last week losing by 6 to the 49ers, but I think this week they have something to play for. It's that Sunday night game against the Cowboys that everybody prays for. I think if Dez Bryant goes off, I think Giants get destroyed. But I think Odell Beckham Jr. really proves something this time, and the running game steps up through Williams and Jennings. So I'm gonna take the Giants in my pick of the day. And then finally, Ravens at the Saints in the Monday night contest. I
think this one actually has the potential to be a semi-decent nationally televised.
Oh, yeah.
I'm going to go with the Saints here. I think the Saints, a great opportunity to get ahead in that division.
Sure.
It would be a big win for them. So, I'll go Saints at home.
Yeah, Saints at home is one of those places. I think if we're talking about like actual home advantage, Saints at home is one of those teams that just transcends all realms of possibility.
Yeah,
they play
definitely.
so well at home. They've had tough games this season at home though, which really does kill them. But Saints at home,
still, top 3 toughest plays.
One of those
people
places,
to play at home is definitely Seattle, the Pats, and the Saints.
Yeah, so that's our rundown. That's Two Dudes Sports Show. Thanks for tuning in. Again, BC's got this weekend. They're playing Florida State in Tallahassee. We'll be live here, not us, but the studio will be live on the FM studios. Just click that red button when you want to tune in. You get the most biased Boston College broadcast that you can find. So I'm TJ Hartnett.
I'm Quinn Kelly. Thanks for tuning in.
We'll give you the intro, and we will not be here next Thursday because that's Thanksgiving, and that'd be pathetic if we were here. So thanks for tuning in. We'll see you in 2 weeks. Yeah. All right.
Enjoy Turkey Day.
Matt Ryan, 21 of 24, 286 yards, 3 touchdowns. Still a dude.
Better than this. Guys being dudes.
Matt Ryan,
That's a dude.
Heisman Trophy. Bronco Nagurski Award.
Ultimate dudes.
Raji on my left.
Herzlich on my right. Two dudes. O-line U. Bunch of dudes.
Dudes to the right. Dudes to the left. Stuck in the middle with you.
WZBC, the Boston College Radio Network, the voice of the Eagles.